Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Alshami, and I am a product manager at Figment. A little bit about us. Figment, we are one of the largest node infrastructures, validators infrastructures in the world. We are running validator nodes on around 40 to 50 different networks. And recently, we started building a lot of products with the mission to onboard as much as possible Web2 developers into Web3 space. And so we start creating some kind of learning materials where we actually pay people to learn the courses with some tokens, and then we onboard them into Web3. So our mission right now is focusing a lot about how could we take Web2 developers, bring them into Web3, and help them build their products, their startups, and all this stuff. And myself, I work on the Graph. It's a decentralized protocol for indexing and querying blockchain data. I have a team of 10 developers that we focus completely on the Graph. But today, I'm not talking about any of these things. I want to talk to you about a student coffee shop, DAO. I know it sounds like a little bit strange, but bear with me, and I'm going to tell you the story of our coffee shop, DAO, that we had at the University of Montreal. So I used to study at the University of Montreal mathematics, and I specialize in actuarial science, which is applied mathematics in the field of risk management, insurance, and stuff like that. And with my friends, like, we used to dream that we're going to be working at these most important insurance companies when we graduate. And then 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, I met one of my friends, and he's actually working there, and I'm working on crypto, so random. I don't know how I got here. And we were having a chat, and he wanted me to ask me, like, to explain what is crypto, what is blockchain. And he asked me a very cool question: how could you show me what is blockchain and crypto outside of your computer? In real life. I was like, oh, I was dazzled. I couldn't explain to him what it is. Like, we were outside, and for him to explain to me what is insurance is so easy. He pointed me towards a car, and he told me, imagine that's your car, you're driving it, and you had an accident, and you want to pay for your car and the other car that you damage. How would you do that? You don't necessarily have money for it. That's why you pay for insurance, and that's what insurance. 30 seconds, he explained to me what is insurance in real life. And then I tried to do the same, but I failed, of course. I couldn't. So I had to bring him back to our university where we had the student coffee shop, and to explain to him everything around our coffee shop to make him understand how we function, how we work into the space. And then I realized that we had a very awesome thing going on, but we didn't know. Like, I didn't know what a DAO is back at the days. I didn't know what, like, decentralized protocol are. So I think it could be a good story to tell you about it. And also, I want to use this story to help you, for people who are building stuff here. I'm putting inside of this story how I do product management, how I go from an idea to actually plan, to execute. And you're going to see a lot that this coffee shop is like running or building a new protocol or a new blockchain. You're going to see how similar it is. So before we just jump into the story, we need the prerequisite. What is a DAO? So a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. On the left, you have, it's not a DAO. You can see the clear hierarchical form. You have a boss. The boss is giving orders to the people working with this boss. And you can see the people under the boss are so sad because the boss is never happy. One of them is actually crying. Like, they can never make the boss happy. On the other side, you can see a DAO, and there's no clear hierarchical form. Everyone is equal. Everyone works together. And they get to have a triangle on their head. Yep, DAO people are cool. They can do whatever they want, and they're happy. And so, like, in a DAO, usually what happens is that you have like a big community, and this big community, they want to delegate some kind of responsibilities to a certain committee, so this committee could execute those actions. So what they do is they held elections, they elect some people, and these people become a community, and their job is to drive this community towards their objectives. And everything they do, they need to do it wide in the open, and they need to share everything, all these decisions with their community. So that's like a DAO. It functions in wide open. And that's now our coffee shop, and that's just like one wall of our coffee shop. It's bigger. And the reason why I chose this picture is the wall that you see in front of you is actually made by our friends from the art department. I'm going to get to this story later. So our coffee shop is run by 9 executives. I was the president for 2 years, but the president doesn't have like a hierarchical form. The presidents just have certain functions. We have someone doing the finance. Like, everyone has a certain function, but every single decision that we made should have been voted and had consensus by the entire team. And we had 60 volunteers to make our student coffee shop work. So imagine around 70 students that is organizing and running a coffee shop. Imagine the difficulties of coordination and planning to make such a thing happen. So that's kind of like our space. We have a lot of people working on a certain project, and it takes a lot of coordination, communication to get things going, and I'm going to get into it. And we started doing around $300,000 per year in revenue, and that's not profit. So that's just to give you an idea how big we went. And we used to distribute around $20,000 to students for different projects and scholarships and such. I'm going to get into it later as well. And I think we are the cheapest coffee in Canada, if not in the world. We created something like a new movement in our department, which students could come with their own mugs, and they could just drop 50 cents, and no matter how big their mugs is, they could fill it with as much coffee as they want. And that created like a certain culture where people coming in with their mugs, and now we are comparing whose mug is the coolest. But what we did is like a certain objective to reduce the usage of certain cups and plastic waste and engage people to use their own mugs. So that helped our coffee shop to become eco-friendly. So why is student coffee shop? Because usually students are broke. They don't have a lot of money, and the coffee shops and cafeterias in our university were so expensive. And we were so frustrated, us, the students, that every time we wanted to go to get a coffee from a certain cafeteria, we were paying around $2 to $3. And we have like those big names cafeterias in our university. And we were so frustrated with that, and we said, we're going to open our own coffee shop. It's going to be run by students, and we're going to be able to do the cheapest service in the entire university. And so that's what we decided to do. And we set ourselves to do it. And we had a vision. The vision is we're going to have a student coffee shop which is going to be 100% run by students, and it's going to provide the cheapest food and cheapest coffee possible. So that's the vision. It's great. Now, how we get to execute our vision, and how do we get from this vision to a plan? And this is something like the same in real life and product management. There's a lot of visionaries in the space, a lot of visionaries like all over the place. And that's not the key to success. The key to success is to be a visionary, but at the same time to be a strategist, to take your vision, to think about how could I have a certain plan, certain strategy that I could iterate on to get towards my objective. And something Aristotle said like around 2,000 years ago was that we deliberate not about ends, we deliberate about means. And then it's a long paragraph, then he keeps talking, then at the end he says, what comes last in the order of discovery becomes first in the order of action. And these specific words were used by 2,000 years later by people to create the GPS. And this is how the GPS work. You have point A, and I don't know, like point D, and you're asking yourself, am I at point A? I want to go to point D. How do I get there? In order for me to be at point D, I need first to be on C, then on B. So B was the last in the order of discovery, but it becomes first in the order of action. That's the first action you need to do. And you can take this type of reasoning and you can implement it in real life to think about, this is what I am, I have this idea, and how do I get to where I want to go? And my personal philosophy, how I do it, and this is subject to evolution and change, is I first start with diagnosis. I start asking myself, I do a diagnosis of the situation, I ask myself, what is the problem, what is the challenge? And the outcome of doing a diagnosis is to clarify the challenges that you have with your vision and where you want to go to. In our case, in the coffee shop, we did the diagnosis, and we were students, and we were so broke, we didn't have money. So how are we going to pay employees to work in our coffee shop? Like, we don't have any money. So that's our first problem, is that we don't have money. So then we needed to have a direction. Okay, we don't have money, but we want to have a coffee shop. How could we do it? All right, we need students to work there for free. We need volunteers. Okay, so that's the direction where we were set towards it. And now we had a plan with certain actions that how do we go and start recruiting students to work in our coffee shop for free. And then, of course, once you start doing certain actions, you're going to go to problems, and then you'll have to do a diagnosis, direction, and then it's a feedback loop that it's turning on itself. So the first thing we discovered that we needed to do is we needed to build our purpose, and we needed to build a community around our purpose. Now, our purpose is we wanted to provide the cheapest coffee and food, and we needed to identify who is our community and why we are building this. Like, and our community was the students. And that's like in product management or in real life or in Bitcoin, let's say, right? Like Bitcoin, they were talking, we want a decentralized currency, we want to fight power, we want to fight the middleman. So that was their purpose, to bank the bankless, decentralization, and then who is the community, or why are we building this product or this thing for? It's like the people who are going to use it and they need it. In our case, it was the students. So we built it our purpose, we built it our community, and we were set to build our community around it. Now, the next step was, all right, we have our purpose, and we know how to build the community around it. Now, how this coffee shop is going to actually function? Where is the design, and what is the game theory? And you can imagine us in the Department of Mathematics and Informatics, Computer Science, a bunch of geeks. That was like one of our favorite parts to think about. And so what we did, we needed first to start with the design. And we were asking ourselves, how could we actually attract people to work in our coffee shop, and how much time are we asking them to volunteer? And then we start realizing that we cannot ask a student to volunteer more than 1 hour per week. And so that's like what you see in front of you is the schedule that we put, and it's the first thing you see when you come into our department. We went up and we talked with our dean professors. We told them we need that, and they said, you got it, the God bless us, and now we could do whatever we want. And we were set out, and this was the first thing you see when you come into our department. And the way we did it is that every hour is going to be managed by a student, a volunteer, that's going to come, and there's going to be no one in this coffee shop to run the coffee shop except the person's name, which is in this box. And so what that permitted us to do is, first, we designed how this coffee shop is going to operate. It's going to operate 2 volunteers per hour. That's going to change every hour. And on the long term, you put your name on this calendar, and you have to work this hour for the entire semester, and each semester will change. And that became also our public ledger, our public record of who is working when. So let's say you're doing a certain shift, and 2-3 minutes pass by, and the next person didn't come. You could go out, check, and then use our social media, Facebook, whatever, to connect with this person and ask them if they're coming or not, notify the executive in case they're not coming. And so we built our design. This is how we're going to operate. We build around how could we introduce a coordination and communication, how could you identify all the parties involved in it, and that was our first design. And then we needed to set incentives and slashing mechanism, right? The same thing when you're building any protocol or any blockchain, you have your design, and now you need to create incentives. And the reason why we needed incentives is because everyone is a volunteer. They're not employees. Like in usual life, with an employee, if they misbehave, you can fire them. And if they are working well, you can reward them with bonus and raise and promotions. So that's your incentives and slashing mechanism. But since everyone there was a volunteer, we needed to create certain incentives and slashing, the same as when you're doing Ethereum or Bitcoin. And so we were set out to do it, and we created like incentives and slashing mechanism that worked. And we started working really well. So now we have our purpose, we have our community, we have our design and game theory, slashing, and incentives. And now we tested the system, it works. And now we are ready for the adoption. Send as many transactions as you want. Our blocks can handle it. And we were set out. And the next step was that we needed adoption and culture. And so what we started doing is we started hosting students' event in our coffee shop. As you could see, that was like a jam night. We brought some music instruments. And what started happening, we started hosting music events, quiz, trivia nights, chess, competitions, all different type of activities. And that started resonating across the university and started drawing a lot of students inside of our coffee shop. And this is how we start attracting adoption. And now, next, you attracted adoption, you need to build a culture. You need people to identify one to another, and you want them to be connected on a certain culture. And the question was, what is our culture, and how could we communicate that with students? And we rapidly enough realized that what we're trying to do here, we're trying to tell all the students that the university is the place to learn, but it's like your playground. You can do whatever you want in the university. It's a place where you can make as much mistake for free. Like we were running a coffee shop, and if one day we forgot to order milk, people are going to come to us and tell us, thank you, you're students and you're doing that for us. Like no one's going to blame us because we did a mistake. And so we changed the entire narrative for our students in our department that this is your chance to try, to learn, and to do whatever you want, and just experiment as much as you want. And we started empowering the students. We started like funding the students to do whatever they want. And really what that did is like a ripple effect where you could see the entire department started to be energized. And next, you build your design, your mechanism, adoption, people are using it, you have your culture. What is the next step? The same as in like when you're building any type of blockchain is grants. Community pools, you are giving like this hackathon, people are coming here, they're telling you to use their chain, they're gonna give you a certain pool if you use this chain, and this actually reinforced the entire loop. Like it reinforced the adoption loop, it reinforced the cause, it reinforced the purpose, it reinforced everything. And that's what we did. We started creating scholarships and student funding. Scholarships, we were paying students thousands of dollars for those that had financial problems, for those who had great notes, for those who were like giving back to the departments. And most importantly, like in the first picture that you saw the design, we were paying our broke friends from the art department we turned our walls into their canvas. We're giving them money and paint to try to learn and to turn our walls into their canvas. And what we started doing actually is we started funding a lot of different student projects. Like one of these projects was the math club, where each week we have a professor that is talking about a specific concept. And we started giving them money, and we started flying professors from London that has fields reward. This is like the most prestigious reward in the math field. And imagine, we started flying in professors, one of the best professors in the world, into our department to teach us about the most coolest stuff that's happening in mathematics. And we didn't stop here. We started funding other coffee shops, student coffee shops, to go up and to start building their own coffee shops in our department. And what we did is we went against the biggest coffee shops and cafeterias in a university, and we stole all their business, and we stole everything, and we became one of the biggest coffee shops in the entire university. And so it's really good, really important to reinvest the money that you take into your purpose and your adoption, your culture, and most importantly for us was to spread the good. We were blessed, we were lucky, we got money, we succeeded, and it's not only about us, it's about this good energy. We want to spread it back, so we started giving the money back, and this is something that one of the most things we were proud of is we created something so different in our department. Like our department became connected, students became connected, and the money that we were giving to other students to try whatever they want to do created a connection where everyone loved our department and everyone loved our coffee shop. And you could see like these students coming into our coffee shops, applying for certain grants, for certain projects, and getting money, and no one was going after them to ask them if it worked or not. We didn't care. That was never the objective. The objective was to give the students whatever they want, to do whatever they need, and if they work, it's going to be good. And if they succeeded, because we gave them money with love, they're going to spread this love back again in our department, and the love is going to spread and spread and spread. And that's exactly what happened. Like our coffee shop became like an icon in our university. The professors loved us, students loved us, everyone loved our coffee shop, and everyone loved our community. And we became like an icon to what students can do and how should like students behave. And that's it. And I want to end it. Where could you find blockchain or crypto in your real life and outside of your laptop? That's it. Thank you.